How's it going, everybody? Rocky Mountain EDC here, and today I have an interesting video for you guys. So today we're going to be looking at my top 5 favorite heavy-duty pocket knives. Now, all of these pocket knives in this heavy-duty classification are folders, but it is important to remember that this is just encompassing pocket knives in general, so non-fixed blade knives. Now, these are my top 5 favorite heavy-duty pocket knives, and it is important to remember that my opinions for why I enjoy these or think that these are my top 5 favorites are going to be based upon my opinions and my experience in use. It's also important to remember that when we talk about heavy-duty folders, that we also keep in mind that the best heavy-duty type knife is going to be a fixed blade. So none of these pocket knives, no matter how strong or how the claims of their durability are, they're not going to withstand to the degree of strength and performance in terms of heavy-duty tasks as a fixed blade. So when I look at my collection and think about my top 5 favorite heavy-duty folders, there's 4 categories that I consider when thinking about what, for me, classifies a heavy-duty folder. 4 of those categories I look at is 1, the lock type. So I'm looking for a lock that is going to be very strong and very reliable. It's going to have decent ability to withstand possible prying and even batoning. So it's going to have a reliable lock that is strong for a given folding pocket knife. 2, I look at the steel. So I look at a steel that can withstand large amounts of abuse, resist chipping, and resist rolling. So some type of steel that can withstand large amounts of abuse. 3, I look at the size. So any heavy-duty folder for me needs to have a decent size handle and a decent size blade. Again, in a situation where we would prefer to have a fixed blade, but in maybe some circumstances we only have a folder, well, I would want my heavy-duty folder, if I needed to baton or do some type of prying, to have a decent size blade. Again, something that I can use to either chop or baton, something that I can actually use reliably in the field. So size is another important factor to that. 4th, look at the handle material. So some type of handle material that is going to have strong materials that can resist wear, can resist any type of abuse. If you drop it, anything like that, the handle material is very important. But also a handle material that is comfortable. So something that if you are using for heavy duty tasks or harder tasks is going to be comfortable in hand, and that you're not going to be slipping or having difficulties maintaining or holding onto the knife. So those are the 4 categories that I look at in my heavy duty folders. Now, it's important to remember that my top 5, not every single one of them is going to hit high marks in each of these categories. Some of these are only going to hit 3 or a couple of those categories, but are sufficient enough for me to classify them as a heavy-duty folder. So when looking at these heavy-duty folders, what would I consider not a heavy-duty folder? Well, I would consider any type of slip joint style knife a not heavy-duty folder because of the lock. So again, slip joints do not have a lock. They rely on the tension of a back spring to keep the blade in place. So these can actually have the blade come back down. So this is going to be out. Any type of knife that's a folding knife that does not have a lock is not going to classify in that category. Second for me is going to be switchblades or any type of out the front knife. Again, would not consider this a heavy duty folder or pocket knife because of the mechanism. There are times where you can have misfires, you can get materials inside the blade, housing compartment, and the reliability of the lock itself. Now, I have seen videos and I have seen people attest to the strength of OTFs. However, for me, for a heavy-duty folder, I would not classify this as a heavy-duty folder for me. Also, a lot of OTFs tend to have a very small and thin, narrow blade, which I would not want if I was in a situation where I did need to baton. So thinking about all the categories that I would use a heavy-duty folder for. Next, any type of lighter weight material. So even though the Benchmade Bug Out is a decently strong knife for the EDC realm of carry, I still wouldn't consider this a heavy duty folder. One, the blade length, not as long as I would like it. The handle material still not as large or thick in the hand that I would want to bear down on it. And two, even though it has the axis lock, which is very strong, and I do have a Benchmade Freak in my collection here for the heavy duty folder that also has an axis lock, but the axis lock on the Benchmade Bug Out is far smaller and actually has smaller springs. So this particular axis lock is, in my opinion, not going to be as strong as something like in the Benchmade Freak. And lastly, a folder that has a liner lock that doesn't have extremely secure lockup. So in this Kershaw first owner's knife, it does have a strong stainless steel handle material, decently okay in toughness blade steel, but the lock type is not what I would want for a heavy duty folder. So getting into my folders, first one on the list is going to be the CJRB Krag. This is in AR RPM 9 powdered steel. So this is going to have a good composite in terms of the steel carbide. So it's going to have a very uniform steel dimension in terms of the materials, and it's going to be able to withstand losing its edge over a long time. So it's going to have really good edge retention for that steel, and the blade style is a cleaver / sheep's foot. The handle material is a carbon fiber and G10 composite material, and it does have full stainless steel liners. And the lock type is a liner lock. However, as opposed to the other knife I just showed, this liner lock is very robust. It's a very thick liner lock. It has very secure lockup when I use it. So I know for sure that there's no wiggle, there's no blade play. This is a very thick and strong liner lock. Not my favorite lock I would want for a heavy duty folder, but its handle material and size is decent for what I would want. And it has a decent steel and a very good heavy duty style blade shape. And the blade length is a decently long length for it. So this is a pretty decent heavy duty folder for me, and this would be more of a budget heavy duty folder. So under $100. Next we have the Spyderco Manix 2. So this is the standard Manix 2 in S30V steel. It's going to have Spyderco's ball bearing lock here. So very strong lock, and has G10 handle materials and full stainless steel liners in there as well. So again, another great heavy duty folder in my collection. Good handle material, very grippy, very strong. Both G10 is very strong, and it has full stainless steel liners. So I know that the handle material is very robust. The lock, the ball bearing lock, is perhaps one of the most strongest locks within folding knives. So this ball bearing lock, I know for sure that it's going to be very reliable in heavy duty situations. The steel in S30V, however, not my favorite heavy duty steel because it is prone to some chipping. But given the lock, the handle material, and the blade length, and the ergonomics, this classifies as a heavy duty folder for me. So again, not hitting all the marks in what I look for in a heavy duty folder, but hits pretty much all of them except that blade steel on there. Next, we have the Buck 110. So just the classic 110 in ebony wood, brass liners, stainless steel back spring, and I believe they're 440C or 440A steel. So again, this is going to be a lockback design, which lockbacks can be very strong. This is going to have a very decently sized handle, very strong handle materials. Again, brass is going to be pretty strong, especially with this ebony wood. And 440C or 440 class steels tend to not be very good in their edge retention, but are very good in terms of their strength. So they can resist a lot of chipping and rolling. So that is very nice in terms of what I'm looking for in this knife. Lockback design, very reliable lock, as well as the blade length is a fairly decent size. So again, I have another blade length here that is fairly long, which is good for what I'm looking for in a heavy duty folder. Next, we have the Benchmade Freak, or in this case, the Super Freak, which is going to be having G10 handle material for the scales, partial stainless steel liners, Benchmade's Axis lock, and in this case, the Axis lock on the Freak is going to be much more robust than in the Benchmade Bug Out. The steel is perhaps, of the 5 I have, probably the best heavy duty steel in my top 5, and that's going to be in CPM M4, which is both has high marks in edge retention and toughness. So this is going to probably be the toughest steel I have on the table with me. It is not corrosion resistant, is very poor in corrosion resistance, so it is coated, but the blade is a decently sized blade in terms of length, so very good in that regard. And the handle is also very comfortable, very grippy, and I have enough purchase on there to hold the knife as well. And lastly, I have the Spyderco Paramilitary 2, which is going to be very similar in terms of its marks to the Manix 2. However, this is going to be a little bit lighter with, I would argue, just as much toughness. So in this case, it has the compression lock, which is also an extremely strong lock, G10 handles, very strong handle material, stainless steel liners, and then an S45 VN blade, which is going to be very comparable to S30V with a little bit more corrosion resistance. So this knife also has a decently sized blade length, so very good in terms of that category, in terms of size. Good purchase on the handle itself, so very easy to hold, and I know that the handle material and the lock is going to withstand heavy abuse. So that's my top 5 favorite heavy-duty pocket knives or folding knives. Again, opinions vary on what is classified as a heavy-duty pocket knife and what people are looking for. But these are my top 5 favorite and what I look for in a heavy-duty pocket knife. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe to the Rocky Mountain EDC channel. Thanks for watching.